Authoritarians brutally repress human rights activists at home. Increasingly, they're reaching into other countries, even democracies, to repress activists. These other countries are now being used as the playing fields for authoritarians' repression. Stories like these are not isolated incidents. They're the horrifying consequences of transnational repression, when governments reach across national borders to silence activists and dissent. Since 2014, Freedom House has documented over 600 cases of direct physical transnational repression, including murder and kidnapping, committed by 31 nations acting in 79 host countries. And this doesn't include hundreds of other cases that lack documentation. Transnational repression is a dangerous threat to human freedom and security across the globe that's all too often normalized and even incentivized by inaction from democratic governments and institutions. And in order to stop it, you must understand it. Freedom House's research uncovered 4 key findings from transnational repression in recent years. 1. It's becoming a normal phenomenon. More governments are engaging in transnational repression than previously thought, largely using the same tactics, from spyware and family intimidation to assassinations and kidnappings. 2. Most physical transnational repression involves manipulating host governments to reach exiles. In many cases, repressive governments work with the host countries to illegally transfer people back to the repressive government's origin country, directly undermining the rule of law. 3. The penalties for transnational repression are insufficient to deter further abuse. Many democracies need to update their laws to make it harder for these abuses to occur. And 4. The full spectrum of transnational repression tactics matters. Online harassment, threatening an exile's loved ones, canceling an exile's passport, and spyware do not attract the same level of attention as assassinations. But these less visible forms of transnational repression are intimately connected to physical attacks. But to really understand transnational repression, you need to understand its human toll, how it tears apart families, makes loved ones disappear without a trace, and mercilessly torments innocent people. Loujain Al-Hafthul is a Saudi activist who's fought for women's rights in the country. Her sister recounted the harrowing story of how the Saudi regime pursued Loujain in another country.
She was kidnapped from the Emirates in March 2018. She was brought back to Saudi Arabia, put in prison for a couple of days, put on a travel ban, and released from prison, but on a travel ban. And then in May 2018, the state security, so MBS, the Crown Prince, MBS's private police, broke into her house and they took Loujain. The whole judicial system is becoming so ridiculously weak and a lie.
The Rwandan government is among the most prolific transnational repression actors worldwide. Rwandans abroad experience digital threats, spyware attacks, family intimidation and harassment, passport cancellation, physical intimidation, assault, detention, kidnapping, and assassination.
So at that point then is when I said, well, South Africa is not safe either. So I came back to Canada. I was a citizen of this country. This environment that I live in basically dictates that you trust no one. No one. Even family members, I have brothers, sisters all over the place, or Rwandan friends. Now, basically, I have cut off, especially Rwandans. There is no way that I can meet a Rwandan now. The sense of family no longer exists.
These stories are a reminder that the true scale of transnational repression cannot be measured by statistics alone. The only way to stop it is for governments and institutions to take the threat seriously and take real actions to deter bad actors from continuing this reign of terror. And that starts here with American leadership. The Biden administration should use targeted sanctions against perpetrators, including denying and revoking visas and freezing US-based assets, and should work with Congress to ensure there's sufficient funding for enforcement. The administration should also take steps to combat Interpol abuse, in which governments misuse Interpol's international law enforcement alerts in an effort to apprehend their critics. Congress should update the US Criminal Code to ensure law enforcement has the tools it needs to apprehend perpetrators. And Congress should impose restrictions on security assistance to countries engaging in transnational repression and work with the US Justice Department to update transparency laws to make it easier to identify individuals operating on behalf of repressive regimes in countries where exiles are living. To learn more about transnational repression and how to stop it, visit freedomhouse.org and read our full report. Dictators are extending their repressive tactics into open democracies because they expect to get away with it. It's time to get serious about strengthening laws and procedures to hold perpetrators accountable and protect the innocent people who bravely stand up to them.